You're watching Turkish series Stars, and what unfolded around Alp Navas today sent a chill through the entire entertainment world. After weeks of absolute quiet and attention so thick it felt like the set lights had dimmed on their own, he finally spoke. Cameras caught him in a room stripped of glamour, just a chair, a microphone, and the pressure of 1,000 headlines. When he began, the tremor in his voice betrayed everything he'd been holding back. "Nothing has tested me like this. Hiding won't help anymore," he said, a line that rippled across social media in seconds. It wasn't a press conference full of sound bites, it felt like a confession born out of sleepless nights. Industry insiders had noticed the drift long before today's words. Over recent days, Alina Bos's interviews took on a rawness that startled even her most devoted admirers. She spoke in bursts of emotion, then paused, then pushed further, navigating memories and feelings that did not fit neatly into a talk show segment. One appearance led to another, and with each one the intensity rose. Her phrasing grew sharper. Her pauses grew heavier. Commentators began to say the quiet part out loud, that the unresolved past between Alina and Alp had been quietly smoldering, and now the ember had found air. Whether she intended it or not, the effect was undeniable. Alp, who had tried to let time and silence do the work of healing, was cornered by questions he couldn't ignore and narratives he never authored. No one expected what came next. In a move he had once told friends he would never, ever consider, Alp said he would pursue a DNA test tied to the child at the center of the swelling speculation. He didn't dress it up in legal jargon. He didn't outsource it to a statement. He owned the decision out loud. Those who spoke to him afterward described him as emotionally wrung out, a man who had been standing upright through force of habit and finally let the weight settle. "I'm torn in ways I don't know how to name," he reportedly confided to a close friend. "But I need clarity for me, for my family, and for the child everyone keeps talking about." The friend emphasized that Alp was speaking about responsibility and truth, not blame, and that the choice came after a long internal fight he didn't want anyone to see. As for Alina, her reasons remain opaque to the outside eye. Some observers, sympathetic to the vulnerability she showed, argue that what we're witnessing is an eruption of unresolved sorrow mixed with the guilt of choices made under pressure years ago. Others, colder in their read, say there could be calculation behind the timing of her words, that she is steering a media current with extraordinary precision as only someone who understands the camera as intimately as she does can. Those competing narratives now collide in comment sections and late-night panels, each side certain they've understood the truth, when in fact neither side has even seen the full script. Because that's the quiet twist. Both stars have blurred the boundary between performance and confession so completely that audiences can't tell where the scene ends and the person begins. It's a risky tightrope, powerful, mesmerizing, and merciless to the heart. Make no mistake, whatever the engine beneath this story, raw feeling, strategic design, or a stormy blend of both, Alp's world has shifted. The decision to seek a test didn't just change a headline. It redefined the stakes of every look, every silence, every archived interview clip fans are now rewatching with forensic obsession. The man who often let his work do the talking has become the center of a conversation bigger than any series launch. And you can feel the echo of his words in every corner of the industry, a plea for truth that sounds as much like a prayer as a plan. Now the questions multiply, and they're the sort that refuse to sit still. When will the test be completed? How long until there are results? What will those results even mean inside a relationship already shaped by fame, distance, and the magnetic pull that brought these two together more than once? How does a future get rebuilt when an entire country is watching the construction? The fans who have followed them from their earliest scenes have become detectives and therapists overnight, parsing posture and punctuation. And the conversation has widened beyond their circles, because the public understands the deeper spine of this story, love that doesn't know whether to hold on or let go, and a truth that could soothe or shatter. If the mood feels familiar, that's because it echoes a moment in television that shaped a generation. Remember Kuma, the series whose relentless emotional rhythm changed how audiences watched weeknight dramas? The fans who discovered these stars during that era, who still quote Mray's famous monologue as if it were a secret handshake, are now watching with a level of attention that borders on devotional. They are not just tracking updates, they're reading the negative space between them. Every silence becomes a clue. Every stray lyric in a song becomes a subtext. It's as if the rhythm of Kuma has slid off the screen and into reality, turning daily life into a cliffhanger. What's happening on their timelines shows the intensity in real time. Alp's confession became the top shared clip within minutes, an orbiting sun drawing commentary toward it from every corner of the internet. An avalanche of reactions followed, support that sounds like lullabies, anger that burns at the edges, and a chorus of "please take care of yourselves" that feels like 1,000 hands offering to catch them. Meanwhile, Alina's feed became a riddle of fragments. An old photograph without a caption, a line from a poem about choices that echo, and a short video where her eyes do the speaking while music fills in the silence. The way these pieces converse with each other has everyone convinced there's an invisible thread running through both accounts, and everyone is tugging at it. Friends close to the couple, cautious and protective, say this was never about scandals or scoring points. They describe two people who have learned to armor themselves with grace, suddenly facing the kind of dilemma that cuts through every layer. Private conversations, we're told, have been gentle even when the words were hard. There were nights when the only sound in the room was a clock, and mornings when neither of them wanted to leave the doorway because leaving meant stepping back into the glare. One confidant said that the most honest sentence spoken between them lately has been the simplest. "Let's try to be kind, even now." It's the kind of line that belongs in a script but means more when it survives a real fight. Yet even as compassion tries to steer, the public calendar does what it always does, it keeps moving. Producers wait for commitments. Brands ask for clarity before campaigns are approved. Journalists assemble timelines with color-coded notes. And a private lab, anonymous by design, prepares to handle tests that have become symbols rather than samples. There's an almost cinematic precision to it all, like a third act building under the audience's feet. The difference is that this time, there's no director yelling cut, only two people trying to hold on to themselves while the narrative tries to carry them away. In quieter moments, you can imagine Alp circling back to the same phrase that began this upheaval, that he can't keep running from things that only grow when ignored. Not as an admission of guilt, not as a surrender to rumor, but as a commitment to the kind of honesty that lets him look in the mirror without flinching. And you can imagine Alina, who has always used expression as her native language, trying to find the exact balance between telling her truth and protecting the parts of her life that don't belong to anyone else. The tightrope, again. The eyes of millions, again. The heart insisting on dignity, again. What happens next will likely unfold in two stages. First, the practical, appointments, signatures, logistics that feel absurdly small compared to the size of the emotions tied to them. Then, the unknown, the answer that either confirms a fear or dissolves it, and the conversation that happens in the first quiet room after that answer arrives. Audiences will speculate endlessly about that conversation, but the script for it can only be written by the two people who have to live it. What we do know is that the choice to seek the truth has already changed them, because it requires courage no matter the outcome. And just when it felt like the story had reached its most intense point, it tightened again. Late tonight, a short, stark teaser dropped without warning. No logos, no fanfare. A single shot, a hallway with light spilling in from a half-open door, footsteps approaching, then a cut to black. The final frame carried only a date. Instantly, everyone started guessing. Is this connected to a new project that mirrors their ordeal, a docudrama born from these past weeks, or a message about when answers will arrive? The timing was not an accident. It never is. Whether this was a creative choice or the world's boldest attempt at reclaiming the narrative, it worked. Curiosity became electricity. That's the paradox at the center of this moment. The same talent that made them luminous on screen, the ability to turn feeling into a language anyone can understand, now makes every sigh and silence feel like a revelation. Fans want to protect them and can't stop watching them at the same time. Headlines keep using words like chaos and shock, but what sits just beneath is a softer vocabulary: hope, mercy, and the stubborn belief that love can survive even the ugliest weather if the people inside it choose each other on purpose. So we wait, not as spectators peering into a scandal but as an audience that has grown up with these faces and learned from their characters how to be braver in our own lives. We wait for the test to be finished. We wait for the results to find their names. We wait to see if the two of them can build something sturdier from the rubble of this month. And we wait, perhaps most of all, to witness how they write the next chapter together or, if they must, with a grace that lets them part without breaking. Until then, the conversation continues, the clips keep climbing, and the light of that half-open door in the teaser hangs in our minds like a promise that clarity, whatever it looks like, will soon step through. And yes, as of tonight, the atmosphere has only grown more intense.